I believe we're going. I believe we are live. Hopefully. What? Today we're learning about the menstrual cycle. Let's get some pog shampoos. Some pog shampoos. Some pog shampoos in the chat. Wait, did it end? Oh, it's still going. The Sigma. Here we go. Okay. See you guys right there. All right. Move this skibbity. Let's make sure everything is ready for the Sigma. We're gonna move this a little closer so that we can take notes. Okay. Today, chat, we're learning about the menstrual cycle. Here we go. We have I like how. Whoa, hey. Men. Professor. Hello, students. Today we're learning. Actually, should I go full cam? I should go full cam, huh? Today we're learning. Oh wait, dude, the camera, the whiteboard's not in frame. El skibbity. Is there anything I can do to get an A? Anything? Dude, why is this shit not in frame? This thing's trolling me. Here we go. How do you spell menstrual? And I mean anything. Oh. Well, focus up, because today we are going to try to explain the menstrual cycle in class terms. Now, what does that mean? Okay, wait, I'm not in frame. Now, what does that mean? Okay, wait. But why am I not in frame? Okay. Say hi, YouTube. Today, we have a daunting challenge in front of us. We are going to try to learn the menstrual cycle. As a man, I know, daunting. Now, some people say you're supposed to learn this in 7th grade health class and then 9th grade health class again. But if you're anything like me, why the fuck were you paying attention in class and not playing Clash Royale on your phone? So, today we're going to do a little bit of a combination. Yes, we do respect women. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a combination and combining how we wasted time in class with the education that we missed. So, don't lie, we know you were a straight A student. Okay. That was only for a little bit. We switched up, and once we had a phone and played Clash Royale, we lost our A's. So we have a video with us here today that has cartoons. The best student. Okay, so now we're just lying. Thank you, W Glaze though. W Glaze. But we have a W video. We're gonna take notes and see if we can explain the menstrual cycle in class terms. And at the very end, I have a surprise. We have to win a game with the menstrual cycle deck. So here we go. Let's get started. If you guys have any questions in the chat about the menstrual cycle, Professor Cactus will try his best. So here we go. Oh, what? Amebia?
We post a few topics we'd like to cover and take a poll from our audience on our community tab. And you know what? The control of the menstrual cycle won by a landslide. We know it shows up on.
Have you gotten your red wings? What does that even mean?
It's also fascinating. A process that, like many biology topics, has so much involves a variety of structures. Our goal is that by the end of this video,
I don't know what red wings are.
before we start, let's intro some terms. The menstrual cycle is a cycle of changes that involve reproductive hormones and female reproductive structures. It has an average length of 28 days.
28 days? 28? Bro. You're telling me, bro. You're telling me, bro. Wow. Women gotta go through it with this shit for a month? Every day?
Ultimately, the changes that occur in the cycle prepare the female reproductive system for potential pregnancy. We want you to know we've observed some sources isolate menstrual cycle to the events that happen in the uterine cycle. That is, specific changes involving the uterus.
There's a, what? Bro, we're learning. The uterine. What the hell is the uterine? The uterine cycle. It's a cycle? Why would it stop? I figured they get like a break, right? You know what I mean? There's like a break.
While other sources would use the term menstrual cycle
Ovarian
more
cycle.
of an encompassing term that includes
Okay. That's probably got to do with the ovaries, huh? They're not on their period the whole time? Isn't that that's what the cycle is, little bro? Or something like that. Ovarian cycle. Okay, here we go. Yo, Zach. What's up, Nabil? We're learning.
also the ovarian cycle.
Bro, there's other cycles. Bro, we can only have so many cards in a deck.
Focused on changes in the ovaries. Ultimately, it's important to understand that there are changes happening that impact the ovary, which you can refer to as the ovary.
Who in the group is most likely to sleep with a ladyboy? You. Come on. Should we draw the uterus? Or what is this entire thing called? There's like, okay. So there's like these little things. Then there's like it goes like that. And then there's like a little dude. And it like wiggles. Dawson is asking if you would. Long cycle. I'm saying women's cycles be running Peckham. They got the whole football team in the cycle. What the hell? Okay. And then they got the little, it's like a little alien head almost. And then it like goes down. It looks like Squidward kinda. It looks like Squidward with ears. 0 card cycle. I'm saying, bro. Like, don't they? How are they gonna be cycling if it costs hella elixir? You know what I'm saying? All right. What's my? How am I looking? How am I looking? And then we got the. Okay. Fire, huh? Come on. Bro, they leak elixir. They gotta put skellies in the back. Pads. Okay. Exactly. We're learning. Okay.
Ovarian cycle, and there are changes that involve the uterus, which
Okay. So there's like different. They got modes. Wait, bro. That's like when double elixir hits. Think about it. Wait. So it's like here. Also, update. There should be a 6 in the goon corner now, by the way. Fun fact. Let's do it like that. We'll just draw it very loosely. So, wait, can I get a fact check? These are the ovaries, correct?
And then you get a funnel, and then just like.
Show us your ovaries. Okay, wait, these are the ovaries, right? Chat, can I get a confirmation? Right here. These are the ovaries. And then this is the uterus. Wait, how do you spell uterus? Let's go. Yes? L teacher? I'm not an L teacher. I'm just double checking to make sure. Okay, so we got the ovaries here and the uterus. So there's 2 different cycles. There's a uterine cycle and ovarian cycle, which are both in the menstrual cycle.
is the uterine cycle. And those changes correlate and impact each other, and they're both happening together, concurrently. And it is the 2 of them that are the focus of this.
Wait, bro. They got 2 cycles that are happening. Are they playing 2v2 in the uterus? Guys don't have Evos unlocked, so we don't get the cycle? Okay.
First, let's intro some major structures involved. In our endocrine system video, when we mentioned the female reproductive
What?
system, we showed the ovaries.
Okay.
Technically connected to the ovaries, but very close, are fallopian tubes.
Oh. Chill. New lingo, new terminology. Fallopian. We got fallopian in the chat. Fallopian. All right, good luck, Riley. Thanks, Chara. You're. By the way, you're the only person here that like studies bio. So the only. I expect good VOD and clips. All right, I'll try, man. Fallopian. Fallopian. Type shit.
May lead to the uterus. A little function review: an ovary releases an egg. There are 2 ovaries, but generally only
Wait. Hold on. What the fuck did you just say?
releases an egg. There are 2 ovaries, but generally only one of the ovaries will release 1 egg each month.
Okay, the ovaries release an egg. Okay. Here we go. Put this here. The ovaries are the egg makers. Okay, so this is our building. The ovaries are our spawners. The ovaries are our spawners. They spawn the egg. The ovaries spawn the egg. All right, let's go. We got us. So if you think about it, the menstrual cycle is just a spawner deck. Wait, it's a spawner deck because the baby. Ovaries are old furnace. Yes. Okay. And then the fallopian tube. These are our 2 lanes. Wait, these are our 2 king towers. Look. The ovaries are like royal chef. Yeah. Look, there are lanes because the egg travels down the lanes. The fallopian tubes. Guys, I have another diagram for us to build. But can you guys see the right side of the kiss? You can. Okay. So look. I'm gonna draw a very, very, very familiar picture. Ready? Check me out. Bang. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I think you guys know. We got the king tower. And then the 2 towers here. Tower. Hold on, let's draw the bridge. Got a bridge here. And then we got the river. Oh, wait, bridge here. Then we got the river. Bang! Okay. So if you think about it, wait, and then like, we go. And then here. Okay, we got the Clash Royale. The fallopian tubes are like the lanes, kind of. So the fallopian tubes, are the lanes. Because they're bringing the egg into the uterus. I believe.
If sperm is present, the egg can get fertilized in the fallopian tube.
Wait. The egg can get fertilized in the tube? I thought it's in the uterus.
The egg already starts some cell divisions on its way to implant in the lining of the uterus. Where it
What?
will continue to develop. If the egg is not fertilized in the fallopian tube, it starts breaking down and cannot get implanted in the uterus.
Oh, so it has to be in.
Circle through this.
What? Bro! What the fuck? Fallopian phase? Okay. Holy shit. Okay. So they have 1 to 4 5-ish days. So there's 1, we'll say 1 to 5. 1 to 5 days in menstrual flow. Menstrual flow. So this is like when you're sitting. This is like when you're sitting at the very beginning of the game. You don't know what cards are coming out yet. Then they have the proliferate phase. Holy skibbity. And that's going to be... Oh, wait, hold on. Instead of saying 1 to 5 days, I'm going to say days 1 through 5. Think about it. Days 1 through 5, the menstrual. And then 5 through 14. What do you say? There's stuff coming out during the menstrual. What? Well, no, it says the ovulation. Ovulation is when the secretory phase. That's what it's called. So that's when. Why is the secretory phase hella fucking long? Okay, wait, hold on. We need to watch the video. We're writing notes. Ovulation is when you're breedable. Oh, that makes more sense. Chad, am I breedable? Am I ovulating right now? Okay, 14. L clip farm? Okay. This is the proliferative phase. Proliferative phase. Okay, and then you have the secretory phase, which is 15 through 28, and then it starts over. I ovulate at least 3 times a day. During which phase, though? So look, they have single elixir, double elixir, and triple elixir, bro. Think about it. Wait, if you think about it, the proliferative is actually single. This is double elixir, and then the menstrual, like, is 3 times elixir. When you're actually, like, bleeding, that's triple elixir. That's triple elixir right there. The secretory phase. Okay, and then ovulation happens. Okay, wait.
The ovarian cycle and the uterine cycle. You'll see the uterine.
Okay, the uterine cycle. Okay, this is the uterine then. This is the uterine. Uterine. Amazing content. Type shit. Someone's got to teach this shit, right? Even though my health teacher tried, and there you go. My health teacher tried in 7th grade, but it didn't count. It didn't work. So, okay, so the ovarian cycle is only two. There's only 2 phases. Ovarian. They got days 1 through 14. Days 1 through 14, and then days 14 to 28, right? Yep. And this is where, by the way, don't say luteal in front of women. It makes them mad. I learned that the hard way. Follicular. Chad, how do you think you say that word? Follicular phase, and then the luteal. The luteal phase. Bang!
The uterine cycle is the outer ring, and then the ovarian cycle is the inner ring. All of this is using an average 28-day cycle. This diagram...
Okay, but cycles can vary from day to day. Can vary per person. Can vary. Type shit. Here we go.
Both cycles are happening concurrently. We're going to refer to this circle diagram when explaining events happening in both the uterine cycle and ovarian cycle. The ovarian cycle includes 2 main phases, follicular phase and luteal phase. The uterine cycle includes 3 main phases, menstrual flow, proliferative...
Whoa. Hella hungry, the secretory phase, and then menstrual. Oh, okay.
Secretory phase.
Okay, okay.
Let's walk through each of these phases now. So let's start with the first phase of the uterine cycle, the menstrual flow phase. On day 1 of our circle diagram, the uterine lining is shedding. This uterine lining will shed for a minute.
Okay, so there's a lining then. So it's green aura with flies. Here. They have a uterine lining that sheds. Uterine lining. Okay. And this is just basic period stuff. This is
The average is 5.
this is what men know. The menstrual flow is what men know. That's the period. That's when it's absolute agony, correct?
Days, this could vary. This is referred to as menses, or having a period. That's why
Okay, menses. Menses equals period. So if you want to seem educated, you can say menses instead of period. Menses equals period equals menstrual flow. Bang.
in the menstrual flow phase. At the same time, because remember these cycles happen concurrently, the ovarian cycle, which you can see on our circle diagram, is in the first of its 2 phases, the follicular phase. During this phase, follicles are starting to grow in the ovary.
Follicles? They got little dudes in there? You got little dudes in the ovaries? Follicles. Okay. This is in the follicular. So, follicles. Oh, that's why it's called the follicular phase, because follicles are growing. Okay. Follicles grow in follicular phase. Type shit.
Each follicle contains an egg cell. So the follicle is like a little egg house that will continue to grow throughout the phase.
The follicle houses the egg. Okay. Follicule grows egg. Type shit.
Let's return to the uterus as we look at the next uterine cycle phase, the proliferative phase. Around day 5 or 6 or 7, remember the days are
6, 7.
the uterine
Sorry.
or endometrium, if you want to use that fancier term, starts to regrow.
Regrows. Okay. Ugh. Okay. Uterine lining. Uterine lining regrows during the proliferative phase. Okay.
Feel because eventually it will need to be rich with blood vessels so that it could have the ability to nourish a blastocyst someday. Blastocyst is a fertilized egg that has done several divisions.
Okay, a blastocyst is a fertilized egg. We don't need.
Meanwhile, around this time in the ovarian cycle, we're still in the follicular phase, but around day 5, the follicles have been growing more, and as they do, they will eventually start to approach the surface of the ovaries. Around day 14, a major event happens in the ovarian cycle: ovulation. Generally, the most mature and dominant follicle.
Wait! The females have races as well? They have a. There's an egg race and a sperm race? There's 2?
The surface of one of the ovaries will break open, rupture, and out comes an egg.
Oh,
It
that.
will leave the ovary and travel the fallopian tube where he can be fertilized by a sperm cell. The other follicles had all degenerated at some point in this follicular phase. The egg each of them had is lost forever. Keep in mind, though, there are a lot more eggs available for the next cycle. When ovulation is over, the ovarian cycle will enter the luteal phase. And that ruptured follicle that we mentioned, well, guess what? It's actually still around. It's now a structure called the corpus luteum. Still in the ovary. Its work is not done.
A corpus? Bro. They call it a corpse. Okay, so the follicles grows an egg. Oh my goodness, this is... Okay. So the follicle grows an egg, and the egg breaks out to travel to the fallopian tube to participate in the egg race. Okay? But not all of the eggs escape the ovaries. And if it doesn't escape the ovaries, it turns into a corpus luteum, which is going to lead us into our luteal phase. So corpus luteum. All right.
Soon it will be secreting hormones that help that lining of the uterus build up and prepare for possible implantation. Let's look at the uterine cycle now. It also will enter a new phase after ovulation. It's the secretory phase. All this endometrial tissue, this uterine lining, is continuing to build up and prepare for potential implantation.
Maximum thickness.
If no blastocyst implants in the uterus, ultimately the corpus luteum will break down and the endometrium will start to degenerate.
That's it. Okay.
Day one of a new cycle will be when bleeding occurs again. Okay, so that was a broad overview. But what about the control of all of this? The regulation? We're going to first introduce the hormones and glands that regulate those cycles, and then walk through the cycles again and explain how those hormones regulate each phase. So to introduce the glands and hormones, you've got the gland called the hypothalamus.
Bro. You got a brain now? Why is everything got to be involved with each other? Okay, you got the hypothalamus. Thalamus. Kind of sounds like Among Us.
The hypothalamus releases GnRH, or gonadotropin-releasing hormone.
Okay. They release GnRH. Bang.
The main function of GnRH stimulates another gland known as the anterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary is a gland that releases FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone.
All right, we're gonna ignore the brain part. Fuck the
For
hormones.
females, FSH has a major role in stimulating follicles, so it helps them grow. The other hormone, LH, also helps with this, but it's also critical in starting ovulation, which releases the egg. And it
The
also
hormones just regulate all of it.
works with making hormones.
TS.
Finally, the ovaries themselves are glands that secrete hormones. Progesterone and estradiol, which is a form of estrogen, are two ovarian hormones that play major roles in the menstrual cycle, which we'll get to very soon. So remember the major events we mentioned that were happening in an average 28-day cycle? Now we'll talk about the regulation of them, and we'll use the circle chart all over again. Back to day one, uterine cycle, we're in the menstrual flow phase. After the corpus luteum broke down,
I don't get why it starts with the menstrual flow. I feel like it should end with the menstrual flow, you know? Because like it's like the conclusion of like everything that's happening, kind of, you know? I don't know, just like that.
and this hormone drop can lead the blood vessels in the uterine lining to constrict, which cuts off circulation to the uterine lining and contributes to the breakdown of the uterine lining. This results in bleeding, or menses. Now meanwhile, let's consider the ovarian cycle. Follicular phase, early on in the follicular phase, the hypothalamus will be secreting GnRH, which stimulates
Okay.
the anterior pituitary to release FSH and LH.
To build the
To
eggs.
announce, small follicles have FSH receptors.
Yup. See, they're growing the eggs.
Growth of the follicles. As these follicles grow, they begin to release estradiol. Low levels of estradiol will result in negative feedback on the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary, which inhibits the secretion of GnRH and keeps levels of LH and FSH relatively low. Let's move to the next uterine cycle phase, the proliferative phase. Remember, in this phase,
That's when it's like building.
endometrium
The lining is building.
stimulated to regrow, thanks largely to that increasing estradiol. Back to the ovarian cycle, still in the follicular phase, though later in the follicular phase, the low FSH levels prevented most follicles from reaching this point. But there will be a mature follicle that is dominant in making more and more estradiol. Now it gets tricky here, so hang with me. While you remember low levels of estradiol inhibiting the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary, ultimately leading to low secretion of GnRH,
Okay.
FSH, and LH, high
So
actually stimulate these glands, resulting in more GnRH secretion through positive.
how do we
So when that estradiol reaches a certain high level, GnRH secretion will go up.
how do we link it from
Out more FSH and LH. LH starts to really increase. This rapid increase is known
because the eggs get built, go through the tubes, sit on the walls if they get impregnated,
We'll call it ovulation
and then
when there is a
if they don't, the walls break down and then leak.
releasing the egg.
So we're like leaking elixir kind of type shit.
After ovulation. LH is involved in stimulating that follicle that had first to become the corpus luteum. Now,
Yep.
we mentioned the corpus luteum has a job helping the uterine lining build up as it prepares for potential implantation. And it does as the corpus luteum produces estradiol and progesterone, which are important for the next uterine cycle phase. That next phase of the uterine cycle is the
Secretory.
phase.
Secretory.
Both estradiol and progesterone, especially progesterone, are responsible for helping to build up and maintain the uterine lining. In addition, that estradiol and progesterone
Oh,
combination
so it's like a spawner deck that's hella focused on defense, right? Because it's like preparing. It's preparing.
GnRH, FSH, and
Oh, okay. I get it now. It's a defense cycle deck that's hella focused on defense. That's hella focused on defense. And then you spell cycle at the end, which is what the menstrual flow is. Type shit.
corpus luteum breaks down.
So
If it breaks down,
so the ovarian cycle is the actual deck, and then this is more just like how the game goes.
which will stop the building of
Your
the
hog.
lining
Okay.
that endometrium. What does that lead to? Surprise! It's back to day one in the menstrual.
Well, if they have hog rider, you just lose,
And the endometrium
and then you get impregnated, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So.
progesterone, that negative feedback is gradually lifted. So now the hypothalamus can resume GnRH secretion as the cycle starts.
All right.
Just a little helpful note: if you do a rewatch of this hormonal control part of the video, you can catch negative and positive feedback examples. We had a negative feedback example in the early to mid follicular phase and in the luteal phase after ovulation. We mentioned positive feedback happening in the late follicular phase. If you want more examples of
How does impregnation work, Professor? That's a different video.
or more details to explore, like how the dominant follicle is selected, check out our further reading in the description. One more helpful note is to see the big picture, a general chart showing general hormone levels throughout this example 28-day period. Here are the general levels of pituitary hormones, FSH and LH, and here are the general levels of ovarian hormones we mentioned.
Tight.
And progesterone. If just focusing on major events here, we can see the low levels of these hormones at day one, and you can see estradiol rise that's being made by the follicles. When the estradiol reaches a certain level, it results in FSH and LH rising. When
Okay.
estradiol peaks, it leads to an LH surge. That LH surge triggers ovulation roughly a day or so later. Then, after ovulation, that ruptured follicle becomes the corpus luteum. And the corpus luteum will soon start to
Releases hormones to help grow.
if no implantation
Yeah.
in the uterus happens, that corpus luteum will ultimately break down. The hormone levels plummet, we could start again. So now one question
Tight.
what if a blastocyst did implant? Would all this still start over? No, because if pregnancy occurred, that uterine lining would need to be maintained and not shed. It's important for the developing embryo, and the body also would not release more eggs at the same time.
There you go. That's the impregnation.
Pregnancy. Instead, the blastocyst will start releasing HCG. HCG is
So then it's just perma double elixir.
pregnancy test will use to detect a pregnancy. HCG will be involved in stimulating the corpus luteum to remain active. And that's
Tight.
important because the progesterone that the corpus luteum secretes is especially critical for maintaining that uterine lining. Eventually, the placenta will take over the secreting hormones, and the corpus luteum will no longer be needed. Exciting, and definitely a topic for another video. Well, that's
Another video type shit.
Stay
All right. Now we need to condense all of this into clash terms. The fun part. All right. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, I believe that this is like a spawner deck. If you think about it, right? So I saw a good idea in the chat is that the ovaries are kind of like the pancake towers. Where let's see what they're called. We got the the royal chef. The ovaries are the spawn egg, which is kind of like the royal chef. The royal chef. Okay? So we have the royal chef, the ovaries. The royal chef, hee 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 ha. These are our ovaries. These are our ovaries. These are our ovaries. Okay? And our ovaries, aka the royal chef, are producing pancakes. But pancakes in this term means the eggs that are getting moved and transported across the fallopian tubes into the uterus, aka the enemy side, enemy territory. Because the uterus is evil. This is where all the pain comes from. Fuck the uterus. Anyways. And this can actually lead to the corpus luteum, right? The corpus luteum, which is that the dead eggs that get, or the eggs that don't get passed into the fallopian tubes, that is the stuff that is releasing the hormones in the pancakes that level up the uterine lining. Ooh, so they're leveling up the uterine lining. So the uterine lining is really kind of everything that's happening. Our win condition, the win condition is the uterine lining. All right? Our win condition is the uterine lining. Is the uterine lining. Okay? And so when our win condition falls apart, that is the menstrual flow and when things kind of fall apart. So I think, so what we're going to do again is this is kind of, the uterine cycle is more like the time, aka double elixir, single elixir, triple elixir. So let's do that now. I believe the proliferate is kind of like the single elixir. The proliferate proliferative phase equals 1 times elixir. Right? The secretory phase equals double elixir, and then the menstrual flow, aka the menses, is triple elixir. Menses equals triple elixir. Because this is when it gets down. This is when overtime ends and stuff gets down. Right? Okay, so now that we have the uterine cycle down, this is our uterine cycle. Because like they said at the very beginning of the video, the uterine cycle and the ovarian cycle combine to create the menstrual cycle. It's 2 cycles in one, kind of. Alright? So this here is our menstrual cycle. Or our uterine cycle, sorry. Our uterine cycle. Okay? And our ovarian cycle is what's building the eggs, right? So the follicular phase is when the pancake is cooking. So the well, actually no, that's wrong. Because they're both building in this time. Because the follicular phase. Wait, let's see the double check on the video real quick. Ovarian. And okay, hold on. Let's move back to the video. Yeah. So the follicular is when it's building the eggs and shit. It's hella building the eggs. And then the luteal is when you get the corpus luteum, which is more focused on building the uterine lining. Right? So it's Rune Giant. The luteal phase is kind of like Rune Giant that's buffing your other things, and then the follicular phase is focused on like building the eggs. Type. So we get it, right? So like, let's just explain it actually for what it is, not in class terms. So first you have, well, I'm going to do it different because I think the menstrual flow should be last. So we're going to technically rotate this all down so that this is days 1 through 14, you know, et cetera, whatever. Anyways, so the ovaries build follicules which get produced during the follicular phase. Then this is also happening during the proliferate phase, which is when you're getting hormones sent into the ovaries that are building up the egg. The egg then, once it gets into the secretory phase, gets secreted, right? I'm assuming that's why it's called secretory phase. It's one of these eggs passed from the ovary into the fallopian tubes and then hopes to get whatever, you know, the magic happens and then lands on the uterine lining, right? And when that doesn't happen, you get into the menstrual flow phase where it's like, all right, oh, this is our luteal phase also, where like the lining gets hella built up and it's like, we're ready for it, we're ready for it, we're ready for it, and then it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and then you just lose. So if we think about it, the menstrual cycle is just tilt cue. The menstrual cycle is just tilt cue because your body is doing all of this because it thinks it's going to be impregnated. So that's like when we press the battle button, we think we're going to win, but then we just go against the same deck that counters us and we can never win. So us winning would be us getting impregnated type shit. But the loss, so this is kind of what happens during the loss, is that, so we have our pancake towers, we have the royal chef towers, we're cooking the pancakes to buff our eggs, and we're sending the hormones, so the hormones are actually the cards in the deck, right? The hormones are equal to cards. Right? So we're placing cards, the enemy's placing cards. You consider the enemy king tower could be our brain, right? The enemy equals our brain. And then us, we are kind of just like this whole reproductive system, which I don't know the terminology for it, but down here this is kind of this is kind of just us, right? This is us. All of this also produces hormones. So we have the ovaries and the fallopian tubes, and then here we could write fallopian. All right, I think I have it down for the YT. We finally figured it out. Okay, this is also going to be for the TikTok type shit. So get ready. So you may be wondering, how the hell does clash relate to the menstrual cycle? Well, I'm here to tell you. First of all, clash is a complicated game, and much like class, the menstrual cycle is also complicated. So, one of the complications is time. Single elixir, double elixir, triple elixir. There's different phases throughout the menstrual cycle, just much like Clash, where there's different phases throughout the game. Now, throughout this game, there's different intensive moments throughout the game. You know, single elixir, you don't want to place too much of your heavy cards. This is when you're finding out what the other deck is. Now, the menstrual cycle, we're going to relate this to a single Clash game. The Clash game is happening within our own body. So there's no actual enemy in the menstrual cycle. However, we're going to consider that the enemy is our brain, and then we are kind of like this, like the system that's happening down here, and then why the menstrual cycle is happening, right? So then we can consider that the cards that we're placing down onto the card, or onto the. So now we can consider that the cards that we're placing are hormones that are being passed from our system to the brain and back and forth, right? So the brain sends hormones down. The brain sends hormones down, like blah 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 blah. Build your motherflipping eggs, right? Because when you're playing Clash and the enemy plays a card, you have to respond to the defense. You got to play defense. So the brain sends down hormones, and then we respond by sending our own hormones as well back within our own system, but also into we send hormones back to the brain, but also within our own system. So we're sending hormones back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. This is the battle. This is Clash Royale. This is what we're playing. Now, how does this relate back to the system? Well, you can consider the ovaries, the king tower, the royal chef, the pancake tower. The pancake tower cooks its little pancake. Cooks its pancake. You consider this the follicular phase or the proliferative phase, both. You consider this both whenever the time that you're cooking the pancakes, right? And you're cooking these pancakes, and you're making the eggs, and the pancakes, and you're sending these hormones, and the pancakes get sent into your uterine lining. All of these hormones instead is meant for two purposes, really: creating the egg and making sure that the egg is ready for impregnation, and also making this uterine lining ready to accept the egg, right? So sometimes about Clash of the Deck, each time you have a win condition, you want to cycle hog, right? You want to cycle hog, but sometimes that's not going to work. Sometimes you got to fireball cycle them. And so that's kind of what these two things are, right? You have your win condition, which is the uterine lining. You're like, okay, we're preparing to get pregnant. But sometimes that, you're not always going to get a connection with hog rider. We're not always going to get a connection with balloon. Sometimes you got to spell cycle them, which is why we have the egg and why we have this menses / the period / the menstrual flow. Okay? Now, when this happens, we're queuing. We queue into a game of Clash. Expecting to get pregnant. All right? We expect Mega Knight to land on our head and destroy us. Right? But our deck is built for that. Right? We know Mega Knight is coming. So we're preparing our hormones. We're preparing the egg. We're preparing the uterine lining. And one day, an outside force will come, aka Clash Royale, will update a card, and then the sperm will come. And the sperm will save us. Now this card, okay, that's getting off topic. That's a topic for a different video. But yes. So let's see if I can simplify it again, because that was kind of shitty. So we're gonna try it one more time. Okay, chat. My head. Oh my god, my shit's hella fucking sweaty. Okay. So to put into brain rot terms, we are the uterus, the ovaries, and the fallopian tubes. Our ovaries are our towers, cooking up the eggs and sending them down the lane, the lane, aka the fallopian tubes. And our fallopian tubes are getting ready and preparing the uterine lining. Actually, I like that better. The uterine lining is the enemy. The uterine lining. Okay? So we are the ovaries and the fallopian. We are the ovaries down here. Making the egg, making the hormones to prep the uterine lining. We cycle fireball to get chip damage. We cycle hog, which is the egg. We're sending the egg down. Right? We're sending the hog. Wait, hold on. Single elixir. Single elixir. Alright? The proliferative phase, when we're building our eggs, we're figuring out what their deck is, right? We're getting our win condition ready to send down the lead. Our win condition is the egg. Alright, we're gonna erase this. Our win condition is the egg. I'm changing the rules. Alright? Our win condition is the egg. And our entire game plan is on making sure that our egg gets a connection. Alright? So we're gonna restart. Okay. Menstrual cycle and clash term. Clash starts with your deck. Alright? And the menstrual cycle is a very, very specific deck. With the win condition, oh wait, I'm not even in full cam. I'm trolling. Okay. Let's minimize chat a little bit. Let's minimize chat so that we're gonna put this down here. Put this down here. Alright. The menstrual cycle, much like Clash. How do you explain the two? Alright? The menstrual cycle is a very, very specific deck that women are built with internally. Alright? First, you consider us as the ovaries. Alright? We come in with the deck. We have our proliferative phase, which is when we're in single elixir. We're trying to figure out, alright, we gotta build up our deck. We gotta make sure that we can make it into the secretory phase, which is what it's all about. Our deck, aka the menstrual cycle, is all about getting into double elixir, okay? Because once we're in double elixir, that's when the magic happens. That's when it's possible when we're ovulating, right? The magic is when we're ovulating. That is double elixir. That's when this happens, the end of double elixir. That's when the magic happens, okay? So our win condition is the egg that we're building up, right? Our win condition is the egg that the ovaries are building to send down the fallopian tubes, aka the lanes in the Clash maps. The lanes are the fallopian tubes, and we are building the egg to send it down the lane, okay? Now, once we're in double elixir, this is when the magic happens. We send the egg down into the uterine lining, okay? And this is when the moment happens. Now you can imagine our egg. You can imagine our egg as Hog Rider. You can imagine our egg as Hog Rider. We place down the egg. The ovary shoots the egg down the fallopian tube. We place Hog and send it down the fallopian tube. And this is where the magic happens. The enemy, the counter card, right? The body doesn't know what is going to be inside. Do they have sperm? Do they have meganite? Do they counter our deck? Do they counter the Hog Rider? Right? If our Hog Rider gets a connection, the sperm, if the egg gets the sperm, we win the game. We're pregnant, and we won. However, in Clash, it's not about winning. You die to over-leveled accounts. You die to a hard counter deck that you have no control over, and you lose. So often what happens is we send our egg down the fallopian tube, and nothing happens. They place meganite, they place a building, and it's just over. We can't do anything. And the uterine lining breaks down, and this is what leads to the period, aka menses, aka menstrual flow. And when this happens, once it hits 3 times elixir, we have no chance of winning anymore. Once it hits 3 times elixir, we lost the game. And then we restart it again, because the menstrual cycle is tilt cue. Just waiting and waiting and waiting to get pregnant. Waiting and waiting to win a game. That's what the menstrual cycle is. Waiting to win the game. And eventually, we'll get a connection. Our balloon will hit the tower. Our hog rider will hit the tower. We'll get a connection, and we'll win the game. But until that happens, we requeue, and we send our egg down the fallopian tube and hope to get a connection. That's what the menstrual cycle is, and that's it in Clash terms. Okay? That's what Clash is. That's what the menstrual cycle is. I hope you guys understand. Now, you may think, all right, you just explained the menstrual cycle in Clash terms. Now what? Now I have something special for you. You see now, chat. Now is time. Let me turn on the sound. Now it's time to win with the menstrual cycle deck. Okay? Now is time to win with the menstrual cycle deck. Okay? Let's see. Now what is the menstrual cycle deck? Our menstrual cycle deck is all about the egg. The egg getting a connection, right? So I'd like to think of the egg as a balloon. The balloon, I guess I should write that instead of hog rider, huh? That makes more sense. The egg equals the balloon floating down the fallopian tube and getting a connection onto tower. Right? So here we go. Balloon. Now, what about the rest of the deck? It can't just be the balloon. Yes. Well, the entire system is about supporting and building the egg and getting the uterine lining, aka the enemy, ready. We're mentally preparing the enemy for our balloon. Okay? Now how do you mentally prepare the enemy for a balloon? Lumberjack, right? Because the lumberjack is digging in a fool. The lumberjack's digging in you. Imagine this guy. Imagine his Evo. Rah, rah, rah. That's the best prep you can get, right? And he rages the balloon and gets a connection with the tower. That's when the magic happens, right? That is the entire cycle. The lumberjack and the balloon coming together as one and making the beautiful process happen, right? This is the essential, the core of the menstrual cycle. Yes? Now, the rest of these cards are just going to be about making sure that the balloon can get to tower, aka the egg can get into the menstrual lining, the uterine lining, and stay there and connect. Okay? So of course, when you have lumberjack and balloon, you have to have freeze. You have to have freeze. Freeze will help get rid of those nasty defenders, aka the hormones that are telling your uterine lining to strip down and redo it all over again. Freeze will help you get that connection. Okay? Freeze will help you get that connection. Okay? Now, of course, there are other factors as well, aka the milkman. Bowler is the milkman. All right? Sometimes sometimes the person gets pregnant, right? And you think it's the lumberjack that did it, but then the baby comes out purple. And you're like, that's not my baby. All right? But the uterus doesn't care The uterus doesn't care if your baby comes out purple or ginger. All right? The uterus just cares about the egg making it to the lining. Okay? Now, you can imagine tornado. You can imagine tornado as another support card within this cycle. Correct? The tornado is a support card that will help you get everything together, get the hormones together, and make sure that the egg, aka the balloon, gets a connection. With that, barbarian barrel. You can consider the barbarian barrel, or sometimes you can switch it out with log, as the corpus luteum. Okay? It may not seem essential, but barbarian barrel is the core to our defense. If they have goblin barrel, whatever hormones that your brain sends, the barrel can counter almost every ground troop. Right? The barrel is core into providing excellent defense for our uterus. Now, with just 2 cards left, what is essential? All right? Our balloon, our egg, cannot make it to the tower by itself. Your egg floats down the fallopian tube, aka the lanes, and it needs support. Now, what better support? What better support than E-Dragon? E-Dragon is the most critical support. Look at that. In the tutorial, it even has Golem. It is the most critical support for the balloon, aka the egg, to get to tower. And then finally, Inferno Dragon. The core card. You can consider the Inferno Dragon your honey pack. Alright? The Inferno Dragon ensures that any big troops that they come sending down your way get countered. Now this, you may have called it Lumberloon Freeze in the past, but now we call it the Menstrual Cycle. The Menstrual Cycle, aka 4.0 Elixir, aka Lumberloon. This is the Menstrual Cycle deck. Now, let's see. Can we get pregnant with the menstrual cycle? Here we go. Game 1. Alright? We say that good luck. We want to get pregnant. He places archers in the back. Alright? Now this could be Expo. Now Expo, I don't know how Expo does against the menstrual cycle. Oh, it's Goblin Giant. What?! You see, this is the kind of unpredictability that comes sometimes from the things that happen, right? Sometimes you just can't know. Sometimes you just can't know. And remember, the critical defense, the Barbarian Barrel. Send the egg! It's okay. It's okay. You know, the egg doesn't always get a connection. The egg doesn't always get a connection. You know? We may not always get pregnant. But remember, this is the proliferative phase. We are just prepping. We are prepping the enemy. We are prepping the enemy to carry our egg, aka the balloon. W counter. Yes, yes. We are now playing with the menstrual cycle deck. He places Sparky in the back. We'll place Bowler. Now we need to be careful here. The Sparky may lock onto this Bowler and hit onto tower, so we have to be careful. We're gonna... We're going to do this to make sure that it doesn't get a connection. Nice. Now, okay, this is going to be hard. And then the rage should clean it up nicely. Nicely done! Even Inferno Dragon should be able to clean up here. Wait. Tick tock on the clock. Everybody stopping now. Oh, whoa, whoa, oh. Decimated. Okay, he places Sparky in back. This is going to be real tough to get a connection here. But remember, double elixir is where the magic happens. We said this before. Alright? Double elixir is where the magic happens. Double elixir is where the magic happens. Double elixir is where the magic happens. Now we might be in trouble because like I said before, we don't want to be in triple elixir. Now this is where the magic happens. This is where the magic happens. Freeze! Boom! Connection! No, we can't choke. We can't choke here. Ah! Sparky. This is it. No! No! Yes! Balloon! We got impregnated! We got impregnated! Yes! The menstrual cycle in action. Let it be known. Don't call it Lumberloon Freeze anymore. Call it the menstrual cycle. GG, fellas. Good stream. Thank you for tuning in. That was the menstrual cycle.